Welcome back to the Drive to Dayton podcast with your host, me, TJ Peatross, and I'm joined by Mike Roth. Sorry we had to take a week off. Roth took his talents to South Beach for a week, enjoying that Florida weather, but we are back ready to talk some Ohio high school basketball. The tournament is underway, has been for a little over a week now. So we're just going to talk to you guys a little bit about some of the upsets we've seen, games to watch for this coming weekend, and what to expect moving forward. We'll have our tournament picks probably next week as we get into regional play. But Roth, man, what are some of the biggest surprises you've seen so far?
Yeah, it's been a little while. It felt like a good time to leave the Ohio winter. Playoff brackets were set. The opening round games weren't super appealing. So I did my 4 days in Florida, and now I'm back hanging with you guys. I've drove through the rain 2 straight nights getting home from Columbus and Athens. So we're back here, playoff time. And I think my biggest takeaway so far is there's been a couple small division powerhouse teams go out really early, earlier than I expected for all these. We'll start in Division 5. Keystone got upset by Norway by 1 point. I thought Keystone was a team who might actually have a chance to push Lutheran East better than any other team in this region. And they're not even going to be able to get that game as they fall to Norway in the district semifinals. Also in Division 5, unbeaten Fredericktown goes down against a Milford Center Fairbanks squad that's kind of under the radar, just sneaking, flying around. They're going to have a tough challenge against Afrocentric, but while it was surprising that unbeaten Fredericktown lost, Fairbanks is a quality team, and it's not shocking that they were able to pull off a win of that magnitude. And the last one, Miami Valley Country Day, they fall to Gibsonburg by 2. They actually had a shot at the buzzer that would have tied the game. He made it, but the ball was still in his hands as the buzzer sounded. The shot was correctly waved off, and Gibsonburg won by 2. Impressive win in Division 6 in a loaded Northwest region that has there's still 4 or 5 teams in that region who could end up making it to Dayton and coming out of Region 22. So that's a region I have my eyes on. I'm planning to be there for the regional semifinals. So those are just my biggest three takeaways are some teams I thought had a good chance of making it to the Sweet 16, Elite 8, maybe even Final Four. They've gone down already. TJ, what has been the games that have caught your eye the most so far?
So, there are a lot of talks throughout the season have been about how Division One in Central Ohio is pretty wide open this year. Last year, it was pretty obvious, that Reynoldsburg and Olentangy Orange were going to be on a collision course to play each other, whether it was the regional finals, state semis, or state championship. Um, there have been three teams, though, three outcomes, I should say, that definitely caught my eye, all in Division One Central Ohio. So Olentangy Berlin pulls off a 53 to 50 upset over Dublin Kaufman. Dublin Kaufman was a team that I anticipated on winning that district and running into, I believe they would have played Lakota West
I think
in the
so.
regional semis if Lakota West continues to win. Olentangy Orange barely escaped Hilliard Darby, 53 to 45, and then probably the most shocking in that Central Ohio region is Newark avoiding an upset against Delaware Hayes, who has had a bit of a rocky season to say the least. Newark was able to walk away with the 50 to 44 win. Newark, one of the teams that has a legit shot to make it to the Final Four, saw an early scare, against the Delaware Hayes team that is no stranger to postseason success, despite a crazy season. But yeah, those were three games, all in Central Ohio, that definitely caught my eye as far as some of the biggest surprises so far.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I mean, that that Newark score when I saw it was a 2 point game with 30 seconds left, that was eye-opening. But shout out to a couple of the Central Ohio teams that have taken care of business in round one. I mean, you look at Hilliard Bradley, they won 52 to 25. Also, Reynoldsburg winning by 21 points. They're going to play a Pick North squad in a district final. that only won by one. And then shout out to Gahanna getting a 17-point win. We'll see if that momentum carries over against Newark in the district final at Taft Coliseum. So it should be a solid quadruple header at Taft Coliseum for the Division One district finals. But TJ, both me and you have been in the gym for some district semifinal and district final action on Tuesday and Wednesday night. Why don't you start with where you were on Tuesday and Wednesday?
On Tuesday, I went over to CVCA to get my first look at those guys. They were able to hang on and beat Clevelandville Angela St. Joe's in what was a pretty competitive game. They won 71 to 62. They took the lead. I'm going to say midway through the third quarter, beginning of the third, and they just completely controlled the second half, in my opinion. And this CVCA team has a plethora of guys. Who can really just make plays and impact games. They, I think they have a legitimate shot to beat St. V in the district final this Saturday. That's an outcome. I know they're the higher seed, but I know a lot of people, anticipate, St. V just, off of reputation to win that game. But I don't know if I would go that far quite yet. That CVCA team really impressed me. And then yesterday, I went to see Cleveland Heights play Berea Mid Park at Berea Mid Park. The Tigers were able to steal a win over Mid Park 67 to 55. And the Tigers are looking to get in the way of that Iggy Edge round three. That would be a regional semi game. Cleveland Heights. It was a fun paced game, as expected. Whenever you go to watch a Berea Mid Park contest, Berea Mid Park was without junior Nick Reese, who suffered a bit of an injury. I'm gonna say midway through the second quarter. He was able to walk it off, so I thought that he'd eventually be able to check back into the game, but unfortunately he never did. Cleveland Heights was able to take advantage, and they have a bunch of seniors, guys that can carry them for large stretches of games. Senior Noah Blue had a game high 20 points. Jamel Stevens is a super underrated senior in the area. Charles Butler has been a big time scorer throughout the whole season for Cleveland Heights. So I'm not saying that they'll beat Ignatius, but it is a game that I'll have an eye on, and that should be actually be a really fun doubleheader over at Lakewood High School. You get Edge against Mentor in game one, and then Cleveland Heights against Ignatius in game two. I wish they weren't spread out so far apart. I think the tip-off times are 3:30 and 7. So I guess not really a doubleheader since you probably have to go home. You got time to go over to Angelo's and get some pizza
There's
in between
plenty
games,
of
but
good spots to eat at in Lakewood, so people should not go hungry in between those two games.
no, absolutely not. If you have time, I would say the restaurant in Lakewood that has the TJ Peatross and NEO Spotlight stamp of approval is Sarita. I live here in Lakewood. It is the best restaurant that I've had in the city. Would highly recommend if you can get over there in between games. But yeah, that should be a fun doubleheader. I know friend of the show, Matt Gold, is going to be over there. So yeah, I'm looking forward to following his updates because I will be elsewhere, but I will have my eye on both of those games.
Yeah, a lot of games to monitor Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. That's why we are getting this podcast out before those weekend games. On Tuesday night, my first playoff game of the year, I saw Columbus Westland beat Groveport Madison 45 to 44 in a thriller. 2027 duo Breaker Heller and Antoine Pollard were key in the win. It was my first time seeing Heller play. I really liked his activity, quickness on the ball, able to get in the lane, and his on ball defense. And Pollard was the most impressive scorer in the game. He battled foul trouble, actually fouled out. A couple unlucky whistles went against his way, but Pollard made some tough shots on the perimeter, and he's had a very big season transferring over to Westland from Harvest Prep. And then on Wednesday night, went back to the old stomping grounds, the Convocation Center at Ohio University. The game of the night was Steubenville versus Chillicothe, and the Big Red continue to roll. Santino Haney is one of the best point guards in the state, not just in the East District. He's up there for one of the most impactful point guards in Ohio's 2027 class. And he's surrounded by a bunch of gritty guys who play hard, make shots, they're physical. I mean, there's a reason why the only loss Steubenville took this year was a 50 plus point performance by Eli Sancombe, top 150 player in the country. This is a team who at the start, before I saw this game, I think I would have taken one of the Columbus teams to win. I hate to spoil the picks episode that we're going to do on Monday, but I think I'm going to roll with the Big Red in Region 11. So they were that impressive to me. And then in the first game of the doubleheader, Marietta takes down New Philadelphia for their first district title in almost 50 years, if you can believe that. The Tigers have three seniors who all average double figures, led by Zayden Whittekind. He's a Malone commit. He's sort of a throwback wing, lefty, 6'2", 6'3". Doesn't create a ton of space, but he's tougher than a $5 steak. He finds ways to move without the basketball. He had numerous putback layups. He's just a flat out winner. Not the most talented kid who you'll see at the Convocation Center for all the high school games that they're hosting, but he is a kid who just gets stuff done on both ends of the floor. And Marietta has a senior laden core. Like I mentioned, they got three seniors averaging in double figures. This is a tough out, and the fact that they took down New Philadelphia, if they end up seeing Bishop Watterson at OU in the regional semifinal, that would be a pretty similar matchup for them. So I would not count out the Tigers just yet after they made some school history for the first time in 50 years. But we mentioned some district semis and some district final action, but we've got our eyes on five district finals each. TJ, how about you take care of the first two district finals that I think you plan on being at both?
Yeah, I do. So my schedule for the week is tomorrow, which is Friday. I'll be heading over to Willard High School, catching Patrick Henry against Colonel Crawford. Two new teams for me, so I'm pretty excited about that matchup. But on Saturday, I'm going to be doing a little bit of driving around. 2 p.m., I'll be headed out to Toledo Central Catholic to watch Toledo St. John's against Toledo St. Francis. St. John's won both regular season matchups. The first game they actually kind of ran away with it, won by 24. But the second time around was a lot closer. They only won by two. So these are two teams that, are obviously very familiar with each other. They've played each other, 10 plus times over the last few years. And there's no shortage of talent on the floor on either side. And I'm expecting like one heck of a crowd over at Toledo Central Catholic. It's actually one of my favorite places in Northwest Ohio to watch a game. I love the arena style setup. The parking actually isn't too terrible, so that's a plus as well. I'm probably going to get out there early, is what I'm anticipating, but it should be a fun game, to say the least.
Yeah,
And another
should be a
game,
sellout, man. And
oh,
I
it
just
should
want
be.
to save St. Francis. They did split the series. St. Francis won the second game by two.
Oh, they won the second game by two. Gotcha. Yeah,
Yep.
I read that wrong.
So didn't want
Yeah,
any St.
so
Francis people coming after us for sleeping on them.
apologies. Apologies. Yeah, so I think that even just adds more weight to the game. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's some good matchups.
That might be
Uh,
the best game on Saturday, the best individual game.
it probably is.
Yeah.
I'll be curious to see. I think St. Francis is going to need a really big game from someone outside of Ponus or Horton. I think they're going to need a third guy to really step up and make some plays. But it should be fun. I love the guard matchup of Ethan James and Chris Ponitz, two of the better non-seniors in all of Ohio from the point guard or backcourt perspective. And then another game that I'm going to, I'm intrigued by this one. It's going to be Elyria against Kent McKinley. It's at 7 p.m. over at Barberton High School. And some people might not know this. Obviously wasn't public knowledge. There was some tension between these two teams. They actually scrimmaged each other back in November. It got a little emotional. There was a little bit of an altercation between a couple guys. Resulted, I think, in one or two kids maybe getting suspended for the first couple games of the year. So I'm expecting this to be a little chippy, which I'm cool with as long as everyone keeps their emotions together. I like a chippy game. And I think Barberton, honestly, is one of the more underappreciated gyms in all of Northeast Ohio. For those of you who have never been, really cool setup. They have a Jumbotron. it's just a cool place to watch a basketball game, and I'm glad that we're actually hosting and doing more games there. But I think that should be one of the better games of the day.
Yeah, I mean that whole side of the bracket is wide open. You're gonna have one of Elyria, Kent McKinley, Brunswick minus Trey Drexler, or Perrysburg in the regional final, which is crazy to think about. If Drexler was healthy, I think everybody would say Brunswick is the clear favorite on that side. Without him, I think I could see any of those four teams making it to a regional final. And also, I feel like I could see either Illyria or Camp McKinley winning by 15 plus points. Like it just feels like that type of game where most games you're like one team could win big or the other team could win close. This is a type of game where either team could win big. I'll go into my first two games that I'm excited about to watch over the weekend. I will start in the Convocation Center in Athens. Wheelersburg, Ironton. I mean, this is the best sports rivalry in Southeast Ohio. No love lost between these two programs. Wheelersburg took Ironton in the regular season on the gridiron, and then Ironton had to sit out of the OHSAA playoffs due to recruiting violations. And Ironton only took two regular season losses this year. One of them was to Wheelersburg. So Ironton comes in as the perceived favorite, but Wheelersburg holds the head-to-head win. I mean, these two teams, they're only separated by maybe 10, 15 miles along the Ohio River. Tons of history between probably most of these kids have competed against each other for football, basketball, baseball, you name it. These kids are competing against each other. I expect a packed house in Athens for that one. And then my second game that I'm going to talk about is Dayton Northridge versus Cincinnati Taft. I'm really disappointed. I'm going to be at the first two OHSAA Division 4 district finals, but unfortunately, I'm going to roll to Northern Kentucky University for the nightcap to catch some games in the ninth region. So I'm actually going to miss this one, which is unfortunate. These are two teams who have a fast style of play. Northridge led by sophomore Keontae Smith and his older brother Deontay Smith, and Cincinnati Taft. They got senior Antoine Hinton, junior Keon Griffin. Both teams are going to be flying up and down the court. I could expect this game to maybe be the highest scoring game in Cintas Center this weekend. I mean, there's like eight, maybe nine games at Cintas this weekend. I think this one could be the highest scoring. TJ, how about you get the final three games that you're looking forward to?
So the three games I'm looking at, unfortunately, I won't be at these games. I wish they were, I wish there was something that was around 5 or 5:30, or maybe even a little earlier here in Ohio, in Northeast Ohio. But I'm looking at Alliance against Bedford. I think Alliance has been one of the kind of best kept secrets in Northeast Ohio. The Aviators had a heck of a regular season. They picked up some big wins, including a win over Canton McKinley. They end up winning their league. They're led by senior guard J.R. Jackson, a couple juniors, Sam Hayes, and then Parker, who came over from Marlington. Bedford, though, is no slouch. They won 9 of the first 10 games before they got into the grind of conference play. The duo of Kevin Woodgett and AJ McGinney has been one of the more exciting duos in all of Northeast Ohio. And I think both those guys will need to have a big game in order for them to pull out a win. But I think it's feasible. And I think the Aviators are going to have to show up to play. Next game for me would be Mentor against St. Ed's. This is the first game of the doubleheader that's at Lakewood High School. I mean, these are just two of the most winning programs, in Ohio. Two teams that are synonymous with Cleveland basketball. It should be a packed house over there at Lakewood, which is sort of a kind of like a de facto home game for St. Ed's. They're playing not even a mile away from their school. Uh, it should be a fun pace as expected anytime you go to a Mentor game. And I'll be intrigued. Like I said, I'm looking forward to following along with the scores. And then the last game for me is Hawken against Ursuline. So these are two teams that were both Division 4 last year. They both moved up to Division 3, and now they're finding themselves playing against each other in the district final. Last year, Hawken picked up an 84-66 win. It was a bit of an upset over Ursuline that caught me and many others by surprise. I'm sure Ursuline's going to take this one pretty personally. Hawken looking to make another statement win. Should be a fun game.
Yeah, I mean, that is as good a storyline as you're going to get in Northeast Ohio this weekend. Should be a fun one. My last three games, Trotwood Madison versus Goshen. I mean, these two teams are both very talented, won a lot of games. Two of the best teams in Southwest Ohio I haven't seen. Trotwood started the year 13-1, took some tough losses against high-level competition to wrap up the year. Goshen's a little less battle tested, but they did play Cincinnati Taft to a 100-94 loss, and that game should help Goshen prepare for the type of athleticism and defensive pressure that the Rams are going to send at them. I think either one of these teams could win this game and the next game in the Division Three Region 12 should be a very balanced region. I'm considering going to the regional semis in Region 12 on Tuesday. So whoever wins that game, I likely will be able to see next week. I'm going to be at Cintas Center on Saturday and Sunday, and I think the game I'm most looking forward to on Saturday is Huber Heights Wayne versus Cincinnati Moeller. Wayne finished second in the GWAC, and they're going to take on the GCL South champs. I mean, Moeller has a handful of talented players to watch, most notably maybe sophomore guard Bubba Donald and also senior Danny Kelly. Whereas for Huber Heights Wayne, senior Caden Post is a player to watch, but also they have a sophomore point guard as well in Dante Chivers Jr. So, sort of sophomore on sophomore battle at the point guard position, senior on senior battle at the power forward position. Those are probably going to be the most important individual matchups in the game between Huber Heights Wayne and Cincinnati Moeller. So, I'm looking forward to that one. And then last but certainly not least, I want to give a shout out to the alma mater, Fairview. They're taking on Poland Seminary in a district final. Warriors are in their third district final in the last 5 years, looking for only their second district championship ever. They've got seniors Will Allen and Burke Lowry leading the way. Sophomore Carter Reagan has also had a solid season. So we'll see if the Warriors can get the win and set up a likely Fairview versus Lutheran East regional semifinal next week. I know Coach Jones and Coach Liggins would be smiling if they could get that matchup. So don't usually disclose any rooting interest in these games, but I'd be lying if I was not pulling for my Warriors in that one. All right, now we can get into our upset picks for the weekend. Really, the only rules were to pick a team lower seeded to win. We did want to avoid a couple lower seeded upsets that wouldn't really be upsets. So I think we did a good job of picking true upsets. I'm actually already 0-1, but TJ, I'll let you start off with your first couple picks.
Yeah, I noticed that earlier. Um, Game that we talked about just a few minutes ago with Elyria and Kent McKinley. I think Elyria has as much talent as any Division One team in Northeast Ohio, capable of beating just about anybody on the right night. I'm putting the Bulldogs on upset watch. I think this is a game that absolutely could go either way. Another game, it's got some, it's got a little bit of family history to it, man. You got Chet Mason and Brush taking on Sonny Johnson and Garfield Heights. These two coaches, practically grew up together, look at each other as brothers. And this is a game I think that could be a lot closer than some people are anticipating. So Brush has won seven of their last eight. They've been playing their best basketball of the season the last few months. They've actually picked up throughout the year two pretty notable wins against Warrensville Heights and Youngstown Cheney. And speaking of Cheney, I'm putting them on a little bit. I'm a little worried, not too much. But I think Coach Ford and Nordonia are playing really good basketball. They picked up a really exciting win over Padua to start the postseason, and then they knocked off Gilmore Academy. in the semis, and now they move on to play Youngstown Cheney in the finals. I'm going to lean Cheney on this one, but I do think Nordonia is very capable of winning this game. And then I'm looking at CCC and Norton. So Norton was one of the last unbeaten teams in Northeast Ohio, and I think Ohio in general. And they've been, they've had a really, really good regular season. I believe they were undefeated when they ran into Lutheran East at Lutheran East. I think that was their first loss of the year. But they're playing a Cleveland Central Catholic team that's won 10 games in a row. And you'd be hard pressed to find a grittier, more scrappy team than Cleveland Central Catholic. I think Coach Duncan does a really good job, and he's got a trio of junior guards over there that can really play, led by Donovan Driscoll. I'm going to take Cleveland Central Catholic over Norton. Should be a fun one. I'm excited to follow along with the scores. And then lastly, man, I apologize to my guy Jason Singleton Sr. You're my dude, but Harvest Prep, I think, just has a few more bodies. They've been accustomed to winning over the last 5 to 10 years. It feels like it's very rare do we not see Harvest Prep in somewhat of a regional tournament, regardless of what division they're in. I think they will just kind of wear Columbus Academy out, but senior Jason Singleton Jr. committed to Harvard, easily one of the best players in OHSAA, if not the best individual talent in the state of Ohio. He's capable of putting the team on his back and helping them win against anybody. And then you got sophomore Mitch Zumberg, 6'8", who's been a bit of a stock riser this year for Academy. So should be a fun one. I wish I would be able to be in attendance for it, but I will have to miss it.
Shout out Coach Dennis. Won two
Oh,
games
unbelievable. Unbelievable.
won two games on Wednesday night, and he's going to have two more games this weekend. One for the boys in the district final, one for the girls in the regional final. So shout out to him. My five upset picks. First off, going Perrysburg over Brunswick. I feel like a lot of people just forget about Perrysburg because they're one of two Northwest district teams in the Northeast Division One region. But they've got some talented 2027 guards. Brunswick, they didn't have any trouble in their first game without Trey Drexler, but I could see Perrysburg pulling off the upset in that one. My second pick is already wrong. I took Northland over New Albany, made this pick this morning, and didn't realize we weren't going to be able to record till tonight. Northland unfortunately fell by 7 points. Good win for New Albany. New Albany also apparently skipped their place in the bracket to wait to see where Northland would go so they could play each other in the district finals. So that was a matchup that New Albany wanted. I thought it might go poorly for them. It did not. They move on. They win the district. So congrats to New Albany. My next pick, Olmsted Falls over Hudson. I feel like the Southwest Conference has had a little bit better of a season than they've had in the past few years. They just seem to have a lot of evenly balanced teams. A tough loss for Berea Mid Park earlier this week, but between Elyria, Olmsted Falls, Berea Mid Park, and I think I'm forgetting a team too, maybe even North Ridgeville.
Avon?
Yeah, North Ridgeville and Avon. Those are both teams that are going to compete in whatever districts they're playing in. So a strong year for the Southwest Conference. Hudson, obviously led by senior Jaden Carlton, but I don't know. I'm gonna roll with Olmsted Falls on that one. Next one, we already saw one unbeaten team go down in Fredericktown. Williamsburg seems to give me similar vibes to them. They went undefeated against a not so difficult schedule, and they're going to play a Versailles team that is going to have the height advantage. They're going to have the experience advantage, and they played tougher competition throughout the year, more close games. All of those signs are leaning towards Drake Arns and Maddox Stonebrocker leading Versailles to a win. But I wouldn't be stunned if Grady Barber helps Williamsburg stay unbeaten. And my last pick, I think these teams split in the regular season, but I'm going to take Jackson Korea and Genoa Christian to take down Shenka Christian, I believe is how you say it. I'm not too familiar with Columbus Division 7 schools, but with Curia, it seems like they're sort of peaking at the right time for Genoa Christian after a bit of a up and down start to middle of the season. So I'll take him to get it done. I feel like a regional final between Genoa Christian and Racine Southern, the individual matchup of Jackson Curia and Reed Brinegar, 2027 Wings. I feel like that would be as good as it gets in Division 7 this year. So fingers crossed for that one to happen. And yeah, like TJ said, we're going to be making all of our regional picks next week. Just feel like that'll be easier. I'm sure there's not going to be too many teams. We were thinking about going all the way to Dayton who are going to be eliminated this weekend, but I'm sure a couple will surprise us. So I guess you'll get to avoid whatever wrong picks we make until at least Monday night. Any closing remarks before we hit alumni spotlight and get out of here?
Man, I'm just excited to get to district finals in the regional tournament. I've seen a lot of talk on social media just about how watered down things seem to feel across the state as far as the district tournament goes. And I mean, I second those statements. I remember, there was probably a 6 to 7 year period where like, no matter what, district final Saturday, I was going down to Columbus to catch their D1 district finals at ODU. You'd get, four just really, really good games. And if all four games weren't good, you were getting at least three really good games. And then on Sunday, I would head down to Xavier, catch the Southwest Ohio District 1 finals, Division 1 district finals. And now it's just like, I'm clicking through more districts and more brackets, just trying to find games that even appeal to me than I ever have had to in the past. Um, I'm just not the biggest fan of the seven division format. I've made that pretty clear. And if we are going to stick with this, I'd love for us to go a route where not every team makes the postseason. I think that would just eliminate some of the, like, we get those first few round matchups where we're just all looking at the brackets like, what are we doing? I think it
That's why I
makes
went to
things.
Florida.
Yeah, I think it makes things more exciting. It makes things more exciting earlier in the postseason. And it's just kind of like a bit of a slow burn as you wait up until, regional semis and district finals to get some good games. But, we're going to make the best of it. Thankfully, we still are able to get some pretty good, matchups throughout the state. But for alumni spotlight, obviously, we missed last week's show. So I had to give some love to Coach Steele in Miami of Ohio. Obviously, they sit at 30 and 0, going for a perfect season. And shout out to my guy, Trey Perry, man. Lakota East grad, true freshman. Scored 14 points in his lone start of the season. He stepped up really big in the absence of Luke Skowjak, who's a Brecksville grad. And Perry hit the game-winning bucket against Western Michigan to keep Miami of Ohio unbeaten. And this has been a team that's obviously been in all of the talks surrounding, Division One basketball right now. And let's just stop. They're a tournament team, man. You don't win 30 straight games. Like, what are we doing? Like, it must be a slow week at ESPN and some of these other places, man. Like, we're talking about a team that's won 30 games in a row, and we're trying to justify whether or not they should be in the tournament. Let's cut it out. And then for my small college pick for our alumni spotlight, I went with Marco Vasquez, man. He's a kid that I watched quite a bit when he was at East Tech. Not gonna lie to you, he kind of got lost in the shuffle a little bit. I think he went the JUCO route before ending up at Heidelberg. But shout out to him, man. The Cleveland native scored a combined 39 points, 21 and 18 respectively, to knock off Mount Union and Otterbein, the two top ranked teams in the OAC. And he's sending Heidelberg to the NCAA tournament. I believe they go out to Illinois Wesleyan for their first game, and if they win, they'll play another game there as well. So shout out to Coach Summy and company, making the NCAA tournament in his first season at the helm over at Heidelberg. Should be a lot of fun.
Yeah, major shout out to Marcos. I mean, he was always a player I enjoyed watching. And yeah, like you said, couple years at JUCO, finds his way to Heidelberg, and he has really had a great season there. My Division One Alumni Spotlight Player of the Week, I'm going with Reese Robinson out of St. Ignatius. He's now at North Texas and had maybe the best week of his college career when he scored 23 points and grabbed 4 rebounds versus Charlotte. And then in a win over UAB, scored 12 points and had 7 rebounds. North Texas is a team sitting right in the middle of the American Athletic Conference, and they're going to get Cleveland native TJ Crumble next year to play in the front court next to Robinson. And then for my small college player of the week, there's no other selection than Luke Chacon, who put the team on his back, leading John Carroll to the NCAC title, breaking the NCAC tournament scoring record while not committing a single turnover in 3 games. Absolutely absurd stuff from the fifth year Mentor High School graduate. Shout out Luke Chacon taking Denison to March Madness of Division Three. So we got Denison, we got Heidelberg, we got Otterbein, and Mount Union, all in the final 64 of the NCAA Division Three bracket. Shout out to those 4 programs. Shout out to Luke Chacon, and shout out to everybody who is still sticking with us for the drive to Dayton. I think everybody is excited for this weekend. Hopefully, you guys are listening to this before the big games on Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, and you will get to hear all of our regional title picks. We'll record it on Monday, have the episode out by Tuesday. I think that next week is going to be the best week of the Ohio high school basketball season, and I think this weekend is the appetizer to that. Like they're bringing out the onion rings, they're bringing out maybe some buffalo chicken dip. But next week is going to be the burger, the steak, and the chicken quesadilla. So excited for that. Thanks for tuning with us. TJ, any closing remarks?
I need you guys, friends of the show, fans of the show, I need you guys to go to Twitter. I need you to find a guy named Kurt Stubbs. His handle is Ohio HS Hoops. We need Stubbs back. Let's bring back the anchor. Let's bring back the guy who started the show with us a few years ago. Stubbs has been, a bit quiet on the high school basketball front, but trust me, he still follows along. He still got his ear to the streets. We need Stubbs back for our regional picks. So if you're a fan of the show, if you're a fan of Kurt Stubbs, send him a little on Twitter. Let's get our guy back on the show for next week. But other than that, we appreciate you guys for listening to us. Pretty quick show for our standards, which is nice. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed it, and we will see you guys on Tuesday. So we're going to record on Monday, post on Tuesday, and we'll see you guys then.